Hello, dear ones. It's Reverend Karen Russo, author of The Money Keys, with a really kind of an interesting decision around Valentine's Day 2020. I'm going to share the stuff that I've learned that I wish I had known and I wish I had done in a more concrete and decisive way when I started the Money Keys business probably about 13 years ago. And so this is how to fund your dreams, talk to your partner about it, and have an experience ongoing that you feel great about. So this is a little bit of a kind of a teaching message and also a you got this message. So here's what I always begin with, which is I know you are one with an infinite spiritual source, and that the desire to bring forward a business, a practice, a message that's within you, that is a desire from the divine, and I support you in getting your gifts, your blessing out into the world. And because I am a spiritual money coach, I absolutely support you doing it in a way that is conscious and effective. So this teaching has got slides and some questions to ask, and I really intend that it's helpful to you, to your beloved, or if you're partnered, if you're a person who's single but you're in partnership with your own, professional and financial needs. I think you're going to find this relevant as well. So here we go. What is the strategy for funding your dream? So one of the things that's really helpful is strategy is deliberate choices over time that include desire and decision and execution. And I like you to start with having a strategy. So right now, just kind of call to mind what it is you want to do, the gift you want to share, the problem you want to solve, the product you want to make, the gift you want to get out in the world, and start to call to mind just the basic, what we would call a business model, which is, what is it you offer? What are people paying and investing in? Why is it valuable? And in general, how will you get it out there? So here's You Unlimited. And I like to remind us that even though we tend to get really deliberate about making our businesses profitable, you want to think about having a life that is sustainable. And so You Unlimited means, like I think about right now, I'm working with a theme that is I align with God, I define my desires, I go where I'm guided. And that means my life is including interests that I have in political things, in spiritual practice, in friendship, in family, and yes, in Money Keys coaching things. So it's important to kind of think like, what are you up to, big picture, and then have your elements of what you're doing with your business from there. All right, so here we go. You've got a you in the center, and then here's all of the different things that are flowing through. You've got your dream business, which is the thing you want to share with the world. You have your personal and household income and expenses. And then you also have your savings and investing, which is what you're doing over time to develop your assets. And how those things work together is a really important thing to consider. So one of the things I just like to recommend to people is if your business activity is going to affect the personal and family household income, you have to have a sense of responsibility for that. And what I realized, what I did way back when, is I took my own, and Bill and I were fairly newly married. I took my own savings and investing. And then ultimately I ended up asking for, let's do a HELOC on our home. And so I kind of took money out of our personal activity in order to fund the content production and the foundation setup of the Money Keys. And then over the years, the business paid us back. But you know what? We took more money than I would have thought we would have taken to fund my business. And we did it one chunk at a time without having an overall strategy ahead of time and overall boundaries and agreements ahead of time. And that's the piece I want you to at least think about, feel about, and talk about on the front end. So one of the things to think about is, if you're the person with the business, what's your responsibility for contributing to personal and household income? So it's always been that my business has always paid or had something coming into me that I have been contributing to the personal and household. It's also been that the business has offered our marriage and our community some wonderful tax advantages, and the business also pays for a lot of things that we benefit from personally. So there's been a partnership element there, but all of those pieces have contributed to it. And then it's good to have some boundaries about, if you have, like, I don't recommend that people take a lot of money out of retirement savings to fund an ongoing business. These days, in general, what I'm recommending is get some modest amount of cash that you can use to fund the foundation of your business and get it generating revenue sooner than you think you can, so that it can have a proof that it's worthy of keeping to go ongoing as a business, and then decide how you want to fund ongoing. That's the general idea. So those are some of the components to think about. So here's your specific questions. How will you fund the initial startup and ongoing investments in your business? And how will you get agreement with your partner that that's what you're going to do? So here's some things you want to think about. The initial and ongoing investment. If you're going to use personal savings, my recommendation is not to take money out of retirement savings unless you are at retirement age, you have benefited, and and you can see that you've got, there will be no penalties. So I really don't recommend that unless you have like so much that a small piece is going to be valuable to fund the business. It's better to have personal savings you've set aside in semi-cash form that you can use for the initial startup. And are you going to use personal credit or home equity line of credit or business credit? In some ways, it's almost nice to be able to take some cash, open a business account, and then get some kind of business credit card within that account, or a business line of credit from the bank within that world. So the business has to have responsibility for its own economic circulation from the start. And what I really recommend is that you think about, how much do you use to set up? These days, it's less than you might think is needed. Like, you don't need a $15,000 website if you can put up something quick, or a landing page, or use a Facebook business page. If you're selling a service or coaching or a simple product, you can do things quicker and faster and more direct from meeting people and connecting with them, having conversations, selling your products and services can be quicker. So I recommend get into, just have the basic things in place to start selling and proving this problem you solve. Do that sooner so that you're not waiting to make money and spending a lot on the foundation. But you want to think about which of the investments are most critical and have the best and fastest ROI, return on investment, for you. So yes, you're going to need a legal entity, basic bank accounts, simple technology, and online presence. But do that simple and classy and fast. And then where you really want to have your energy is in, what's the message of the product or service? What is the product or service? And how do you market and sell it? And rather than making that too complicated, a $50,000 branding project, maybe what you want to do is you want to pilot, launch, or beta, and just sell a few to fund the idea of crafting that brand message and product. Yes, you're going to need coaching, education, travel expenses. So, you're going to need to work with probably a business and personal coach. You're going to need education about how to be effective in business, particularly if you're coming from a corporate or professional role or you're coming back into the workforce. And yes, you're going to need travel expenses. But of all of those different things, I want people out there selling your stuff in pilot form sooner to prove to you and your beloved that there's a business in this dream. And that's where your energy, money, and attention goes. And then the other pieces are lesser priority, but of course important. And then how will you ensure there's a salary or consulting fees or an owner draw to you? So often a tax person will tell you, you know, all the reasons not to pay yourself as an employee of your small business. And that's great. And it's sometimes what you're doing is you're starting out as you're just a sole proprietorship and you've got a LLC nickname and you're doing business as, but all of it's coming to your social security number. But if you have an EIN, a business code in the United States, a business number, and you're really doing a business, more and more these days, I'm coming down to the place of give yourself a salary or a consulting fee from the start. And that is for the energetic realization that you're the business owner, but you also are working in the business as well as being, the strategic leader and working on the business. If you are working in the business, delivering the service or doing the selling or hiring the people or leading the team, you should be getting paid. And part of why you should be getting paid is for your own sense of worth and circulation and power and reciprocity. The other reason why you should be getting paid is if you're going to hire somebody else to do that job, you need to know that the business can be profitable paying somebody to do the thing that you're currently doing. So I feel pretty strongly about that. Over the last couple of years, I find too many folks, especially women, are not paying themselves and kind of waiting to feed everybody else and kind of thinking they'll eat later. And energetically, it just doesn't value the contribution that you're making. So then, once you've made those decisions and you're underway, you want to have decision criteria that you and your partner and you and your business partner, if you're working with somebody else in your business or you with your business coach, need to be able to use. So how quickly does this coaching or service or product business need to be profitable to work with your personal family and saving strategy? How much will you fund and over what period? So you need to know when to stop. And what criteria are you going to continue to use? Is it going to be what's the revenue of the business? How many sales am I making? Numbers of clients? Are you going to use your intuition? How much do you want this business to grow? What's the visibility? Or maybe there's criteria that are perfect for you. So one of the things that I find is that sometimes people don't realize that you want to say to your partner, maybe what's true is that, and there's so much negativity about is this a really expensive hobby? And that's considered very negative. But, if you are a poet who has a message to bring forward and you want to create a beautiful book of poems and it feels like a passion and a life purpose, wouldn't it be okay if you just did some research and found out that it was $7,000 to create this book of poems? And that over a 10-year period, if you sold, 700 of them, you would make back your 7,000. And that's something that's just really a life desire for you. Wouldn't that be okay rather than trying to make $100,000 business out of your sweet poetry? It's all right if you also are making the decision that something is a modest business and maybe you're going to keep your project management job at a corporation, or maybe you're going to be earning $25,000 to $40,000 doing this and not $250,000 doing it. So I just want to keep the space open for people to fund your dreams, have your partnership be prospered by it, and I believe in you.